Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. Great article here from Fierce Network. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So I wanted to talk about this in this video. I had a conversation earlier with a few buddies. We were going back and forth on this topic. Verizon CEO, this is AT&T back plan for 4.9 gigahertz. So the reason I wanted to bring this up because this is very interesting. This is a unique situation. Verizon has never dealt with any direct competition in the first responder public safety space. FirstNet, backed by the government, is the first time Verizon has ever dealt with some real serious competition in this space, right? So AT&T is set to get this 4.9 gigahertz, 50 megahertz of it. Some people are saying it's going to be gifted to FirstNet. Now, all of a sudden, that AT&T is getting 50 additional megahertz of spectrum. This is not going to give them a huge advantage. This is not going to create dominance. This is just going to bring AT&T on parity with the competition in terms of total mid-band holdings. Got to remember, AT&T got less C-band in the C-band auction, and the DoD that they got is only 40 megahertz, so it still didn't get them to the total average of parity with the competition in T-Mobile and Verizon. So this right here, this additional 50 megahertz is only going to bring AT&T up to par with the competition in overall spectrum holdings. So that's one thing to point out. So just because AT&T is now going to get this, all of a sudden, hell is breaking loose. We're starting to see words being used like windfall. Verizon the CEO, Hans Vestberg, is flying out to D.C. now, having meetings with the FCC chairwoman. I mean, all of this is happening now just because AT&T is going to get an additional 50 megahertz valued at $14 billion. Now they're saying it's not fair. It's not a competitive market anymore. I mean, all of this is being thrown out now by Verizon because this is the first time that they're feeling a competitive threat in the first responder space. And now AT&T got band 14, they're getting 4.9, and it doesn't sit well with Verizon. But yet, I got to point this out, we got T-Mobile here in the corner accumulating all kinds of spectrum. They got 600 megahertz at the beginning when it first was auctioned off for $8 billion. T-Mobile got about 31 megahertz on average nationwide. Verizon didn't say anything. Throughout the years, T-Mobile has been able to gobble up more 600. They got some from Columbia Capital. They're leasing from Comcast with an option to purchase, and now possibly Dish, right? That's a possibility. I'm just throwing that out there, but that's a possibility. Verizon, crickets. T-Mobile got 2.5 from the Sprint merger. Verizon doesn't say anything. They got more 2.5 in auction 108. Verizon, crickets. Now, T-Mobile bought Mint Mobile. They're buying US Cellular. Verizon doesn't say anything. Nothing. But AT&T is set to get 4.9, 50 megahertz to bring them up to par with the mid-band average holdings nationwide with the competition. And all of a sudden, hell breaks loose at Verizon. So this leads me to believe that Verizon still does not view T-Mobile as a competitive threat in any of this type of situation. Consumer, first responder, enterprise, whatever you want to say, Verizon still does not view T-Mobile as a competitive threat. That's what it comes down to, in my opinion. That's just me. I'm looking at it objectively, and I say, okay, AT&T is set to get 50 more megahertz of 4.9, and all hell is breaking loose at Verizon. T-Mobile is getting all 2.5, 600. They're buying US Cellular, getting 30 more percent spectrum. There are spectrum swaps that are happening, making 2.5 even more contiguous. And Verizon, crickets. They're missing in action. But this AT&T getting more 4.9, and all of a sudden we got to have meetings with the top of the top. We got to do this. We got to have a 15-page essay ready to go. You get what I'm trying to say? So that's what I'm getting at. Verizon is still not looking at T-Mobile as anything serious, and T-Mobile is just sitting in the corner gobbling up more spectrum. And then also, Verizon says they are more upset because you're going to gift AT&T the spectrum, right? Potentially, that's what they're speculating. But yet, looking at the roadmap of spectrum, the pipeline, there's nothing else coming. But again, I got to point out, yes, this 4.9 is going to be used by FirstNet, first responders, and AT&T consumer. But yet, this 50 megahertz still does not give AT&T a competitive advantage. It just brings them up to par with the competition. So I don't know what the big deal is here by Verizon when T-Mobile is in the corner just gobbling up all kinds of licenses and Verizon doesn't say anything. So it's very interesting to see this unfold. They must see Verizon, I mean, they must see AT&T as a really, really strong competitor in that space and also in the consumer space now for the fact that they are, going to this extent, in my opinion. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know how you feel about this. Also, I'm not saying that, AT&T should just be giving the 4.9, right? But if that's, from what I was told, that was already sort of in the pipeline. Like that's the spectrum for first responders. And since AT&T has that contract, guess what? It's going to go to first responders. So if that was the case, I mean, if that's something that Verizon maybe should have taken into consideration when that contract went up for bid. But no, AT&T got it, and now look at the situation. So it's interesting that Verizon is really going after this when T-Mobile is just sitting back, chilling, getting all the spectrum. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.